Hey there, John from McClungmusic.com here again, and this is video number 2 in the series of videos that I'm making about how to play music by ear. Last time we talked about scales, which is actually very important for today's lesson, which is how to play melodies. So if you haven't watched that video yet, click here, go back there, watch the video on scales, and come right back. Okay, now that you're back, let's talk about playing melodies by ear. Now, like I mentioned, scales are very important because they're what melodies are made out of. So let's review just briefly what we talked about in the last video. C major scale, 7 notes, and then it repeats. Home note, tonic, final, whatever you want to call it, is C in the key of C. It's by far the most important note. Other important notes, E and G. This is your home. These are kind of your home away from home. The other notes are well, also important, but they have a different function. Where these are home, these are sort of the wandering notes. And songwriters have often created a sense of tension by going to these notes and then coming back to one of the home notes. And that's something you can think about when you're playing by ear, and will help you figure out what the melody's doing. Okay. So now that we've reviewed that, how do you go about playing tunes by ear? Well, first is picking a tune. And when you pick a tune to start out with, please pick something easy. When you start out, just make life easy for you. Don't pick a Gershwin tune or something, because those can be very complicated. So I'd recommend start with Three Blind Mice or Mary Had a Little Lamb or something just ridiculously easy to start out with, and then once that becomes easy, you can move on from there. Also, I mentioned before we're going to stay with tunes that are in major as opposed to minor, and most melodies are, but the minor tunes are a little bit harder, so we'll leave those for later. So I'd pick a major tune, major mode tune that's something pretty simple to start out with. Okay, and if it's in major, remember that the only notes you need to worry about are the white notes. Okay, so you picked a song. How do you go about trying to play it by ear? Well, the one most obvious way is you can just start guessing. And if you're like me when I was younger, that's what I did, and it was pretty frustrating. So I'm going to try to give you a few tips to take some of the guesswork out of that process. The first thing is really think about the important notes, because those will help you figure out which note might be the next note. And the next most important tip I have for you is to practice thinking and listening to music visually and analytically. What do I mean by that? Well, what I'd recommend that you do is get in the habit of visualizing sort of the contour of melodies. So, if a melody's going up, their notes going up, think about contour going up. If it goes down, think about going like that. If the notes are sort of nearby, think about that. If they're big jumps, think about the big jumps. Just get in the habit of kind of visualizing the contour of the melody. And the more you do that, the more that will help you figure out what the melody's doing. So when you sit down on the piano and you're trying to play by ear, if you have that habit, that will go a long way. So say you're going to play Three Blind Mice on the piano. First thing you do is find home bass, find C. Now you think about sort of hum the or imagine the tune in your head. Is that first note, is that the same as this note? No, it's not. Well, is it higher or lower? Well, it's a little bit higher. When in doubt, pick one of the home notes. So the one that's a little bit higher is E. And that turns out to be the right note. Now once you've figured out the first note, what's the second note? It's that note. Well, is the second note higher or lower than the first note? Well, it's lower. It's going down. It's not going up. It's going down. So think about going down. Well, is it going down by a step or by jump? Well, it's a step. It's the next lowest note, or the note that's just one down. And when you just have to worry about the diatonic scale, you only have one note to choose from, so there's just one note that's down, and that's your note. Now when you're here, think about it. Next note, again, is it up or down? It's down. And is it down by jump, or is it down by step? Well, it's down by step again. And that's it. And then the next part of the melody just repeats, so you know what you're doing there. Now the next part is a little bit harder. Now is that up or down? That's up. And is that up by step or jump? Well, this would be a step. And then a jump, that's definitely a jump. Is that a little jump? That's a pretty big jump. So, eventually, if you do this enough, you'll get to the point where you can be like, oh, that sounds like a perfect fifth, or oh, that sounds like the fifth scale degree of the scale, or oh, that sounds like a G. Eventually, you'll get to the point where you just know it. But for now, when you're starting out, you think, oh, it's a jump. It's a pretty big jump. I'm not sure what it is. You can start guessing. And if you're going to guess one of the hum notes. And it turns out that is one of the hum notes. It's G, the fifth of this scale. And that's the next note. And then from there, you can just do the same process. It's another step down, another step down. So that's the process you go through. And it's laborious when you start out this way. But going through this exercise at the piano will be helpful, but more than anything else, going through this exercise in your head, whenever you think about a tune, whenever you listen to a tune, will be the single most helpful thing you can do to learn to play by ear. Which is funny, because you'd think if you're going to learn to play by ear, sitting down at the piano and practicing playing by ear would be the best thing. And it's a good thing, but it's not the best thing. The best thing is to train your mind to think about music visually and analytically. Think about contour. Just think about what you're listening to, because that's the most important thing. And it's kind of an illustration to that. When I learned how to play by ear, that's how I did it. Just a little bit of background about me. I went to college for music, and when I got there, I played piano a lot. I almost never played by ear. I wasn't good at it at all. And then it's 4 years of college. I studied music, all types of things. Music history, music theory, ear training, sight singing, those sorts of things. And a little bit of playing by ear, but not very much. And I really hated it, and I wasn't good at it. But by the time I got out of college, I knew enough music theory, enough ear training that I was in the habit of listening to music analytically. So when I'd listen to a tune on the radio, pop song, what have you, I'd be thinking about, the chord progressions and the melody and what notes those were. And I went to law school, actually, afterwards for 3 years, and I almost never touched a piano. I didn't really have access to a piano at all. So I didn't get to practice playing by ear or playing at all. But I got in the habit of just analyzing everything I heard on the radio or listened to at home. You eventually get to the point where you can't turn that off. It's kind of a curse, actually. But after 3 years of that, I ended up at a place where I had access to a piano. I started playing again, and I started playing by ear. And the amazing thing was, I could. I went from being terrible at playing by ear at being actually pretty good at it without ever really touching a piano at all. And that was amazing to me. And the reason was I'd learned how to listen to music and really pay attention to it. And that's the most important thing about playing melodies by ear. So more than anything else, get in the habit of thinking of that contour. Think about, are notes going up? Are notes going down? Are they jumps? Are they steps? Are they big jumps, little jumps? And that's something, it may be frustrating when you start out, but you'll get better and better. It's amazing how bad I was when I started out and how much improvement I did in a relatively short amount of time, and the same will be true for you if you work on that. So that's your homework assignment. Practice thinking about music in contours. And then also sit down the piano and practice playing by ear at the piano, because that will help as well. So do that, and the next video we'll be talking about harmonizing melody. So you've got your melody in the right hand, and we'll be adding chords in the left hand next time. So when you're ready for that, click here. We'll go to the next video, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you there.